Yeah, so nice to meet everyone. Welcome to Queering the Music Biz. Happy Pride. Excited for our conversation today. My name is Liz, and I lead artist and label services at Vydia, which is an end-to-end music distribution and technology company that provides services for labels to scale. And we can talk about that later if it comes up, but we'll be co-moderating, as I mentioned, with Jayne from the Future Perfect Project. And Emma, I'd love for you to give some context for maybe those who aren't familiar with the organization about all the work, amazing work that y'all do, and your role at the organization.
Yeah, I'd love to. So, we are an arts program serving queer youth, and we believe that the artistic expression of queer youth and allies is a declaration of a better future for us all. We are grant funded and we are equal parts weekly workshops working with queer youth to give them a space to write and make art. And we're also a production company. We've made albums entirely written by queer youth. We've made an animation series telling the stories of queer youth, and we have comic books and other animated series in the works, as well as potentially a book, which is exciting. So that's a little bit about us. We serve youth from ages 12 to 22, and a part of what we do is music. And so I'm glad to be here today and celebrating Pride Month, which for us is year round, really, but excited to be here.
Awesome. So today we're going to be answering a wide range of questions and hopefully some from the audience as well, but including how do you uncover and express identity through your art, whether it's your art or another project you're working, what types of job opportunities exist, and how do I get my start? I think it's important throughout the next 45 minutes that we keep in mind this may be a younger demographic, so catering to kids interested and don't know much about the music biz but are interested in getting their start. What some of the challenges the LGBTQ community continue to face in the music industry and what can be done to create equality, which I know is a question that kind of I think can be an easy answer, right? There's a lot of challenges, but maybe providing some specific experiences that you have or things that you personally have done to help drive, conversations and create change. And then we'll wrap it all up with where do you see the future of music going in the next 5 years? But first, I think it's definitely important that we have all of you introduce yourselves for those viewers who may not be familiar with you and your work. So I'd love to start off with you, Shams.
Hey, thanks so much for having me. This is like such a cool thing that you all are doing. And I'm sure I speak on behalf of all of the panelists, but like it's such an honor to be here with you all. But my name is Shams Ahmed. I'm a vocal producer, arranger, and I'm the co-founder of a pop R&B girl group called Citizen Queen, as well as Acapop Kids, which is an acapella kids music brand brought to you by the minds behind Pentatonics. Recently have been getting my feet wet in the TV world, developing a show for Disney Plus and Disney Channel. I'm originally from Jersey. I went to college in Boston, which is where I know Emma from. And that's actually where I had my first career as an investment banker before moving to Los Angeles in 2018 to pursue a full-time music and entertainment production career. And again, it is a huge pleasure to be here with you all today.
Thanks, Sean. I'm so glad to have you. Sienna, over to you.
Sick. Hi, everyone. I'm Sienna Liggins. I'm a pop artist based in Atlanta, Georgia, by way of Detroit, Michigan. I make music mostly about girls that I have crushes on or who have broken my heart. But I invite all of you to explore those feelings with me. I was recently, my album just got named one of the top 15 albums to come out by a queer artist this year. By Billboard, which was really cool. And I'm super stoked to be here. Thanks, Emma, for inviting me and always looking out for me. Love what Future Perfect does. Hashtag children future, all those things. Thanks again.
Amazing. Yeah, your album is awesome. And I definitely want to speak a little bit more on the creative process behind that and the success you've seen as a result since it's come out. Jess, over to you.
Hi everyone, I am Jessica Vaughn. I am the VP of Sync and Creative at a boutique music publisher named Heavy Hitters Music. I'm also the president of Head Bitch Music, which is a custom music house as well as a label imprint that Vydia releases. Thank you. And I also am a professional recording artist and songwriter. That being said, I am also from New Jersey originally, living in LA now, but holding down the fort. Can't take the Jersey out of the girl. And I have about like 25 different monikers I record music under for film and television. And I was recently named top 40 most influential music executives in the LGBTQIA plus community in Billboard.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Jess. I know you're going to have great insight to share with us today. And John, last but not least.
Hello, thank you for having me. Excited to be joining all of you. I released my first EP, Homo Sapien, on Friday. We partnered with Future Perfect Project and are giving some of the proceeds to you directly. Yeah, I've been recording and releasing music since, I've been recording since 2015, but I've been releasing since 2018. And feel like I'm just kind of figuring things out right now. I'm sure we'll talk more about the process, as you said, but yeah, I'm just happy to be here.
And also an amazing project, Homo Sapien, and the music video for High Heels is coming out very soon, Friday, right?
Friday, thank you, Vydia. Yes, indeed it is.
A little bit of a video plug, I guess, in a couple of different ways here today. But we're going to start off with speaking about how you find and craft your sound. You know, how do you define your sound? What's your process in creating it? How do you get your true authentic self to shine through? You know, Jess, maybe we start with you. You have multiple artist project names, all of which have different identities and sounds. What do you think about when creating the sound and identity for a new artist project?
Well, I think it's important to know who you are authentically before you start exploring other projects, because you have to find your voice in each thing that you do, because if it doesn't resonate with you, it won't resonate with anyone else. So I think that's first and foremost, but I think I just have a lot of personalities and I need to express each and every one of them. So I usually just sit down and think about the sonic bed that I want this project or character to live in, and each character is like kind of a different side of me, so I'll just kind of hyper listen to something that I think it should emulate, and then I do kind of like a paint by numbers where I'll kind of put a title in, some moods that I want it to I want people to feel when they listen to it, and then I kind of just let myself free write, but I only give myself 2 hours to write an entire song. If it takes longer, then I consider it trash.
I love that, Jessica. That's a fun rule to live by if you're feeling like a creative block. It's like, well, just toss it. And I have a question for those watching who don't know what sync is. Can you break that down for us? Because that is a revenue stream for a lot of artists that a lot of artists don't know about.
Yeah, it's anytime you license music, basically you are giving permission to use your music for anything with moving picture, film, TV, gaming. If there is a moving picture, then you'd have to license that music. So that's basically what I do in business. It's also what I do as a creative.
Great, thank you so much. I want to move over to Shams. I have a question for you. You're also working kind of like from these multiple personalities, I'd say, in a fun way. You have like this pop R&B girl group that you're working on. You have this youth group that you're working on. I'm wondering how you infuse yourself into all of these different projects, keep it authentic, and keep your perspective while, you know, keeping in mind all these other perspectives.
Yeah, I mean, very much like Jessica, I think we have like a lot of different types of personalities or different aspects to our personalities that we want to play up for certain things. So for me, like, I know that my sound is defined by my experiences, right, in my life. So listening to music, for example, when I was a little kid, I was listening to the music that my older siblings and cousins listened to. So it could have been anything from Spice Girls to Eminem to Brandy to Linkin Park to Imogen Heap. So all of these things are so different from each other, but that definitely provided like a musical basis for me, right? And then going into high school and being in musical theater and like really getting into that and saying, okay, that taught me about storytelling when it came to being an arranger or composer. I didn't really fall in love with arranging until later when I was in college, but then collegiate a cappella like showed me a whole world of vocal harmony and lush soundscapes, and I fell in love with that. And then also my own cultural heritage, reckoning with like the place that my parents came from, which is Bangladesh. And so falling in love with that kind of music also has inspired like what my sound is now. But because these are all so different from each other, I think we take pieces from each of those experiences, and each personality is really just different levels of all of those experiences together. So for the girl group, you know, Citizen Queen, I love them. It's all about tapping into that sensibility of like the stuff that I love that Brandy does, or like the stuff by En Vogue, and that very amazing tight harmony. You know, it's all about flexing the tight harmony and the arranging chops. And then when it comes to Acapop Kids, it's all about like that fun, very pow pop, colorful, in your face, high energy storytelling that we get out of like the musical theater vibe and then the pop world. So I mean, so many different things that we've all experienced, you know, growing up, and especially kind of considering this audience, it's like, you know, the stuff that you're doing right now could impact or influence the way that what your outputs are like later in life. Could be 5 years from now, could be 10 years from now, whatever. But I always look back to kind of my experiences from, you know, the time when I was able to, you know, be cognizant of the world around me. And so I just think of it not necessarily as discrete personalities, but levers within one central nucleus. And I'm like, okay, right now the musical theater lever is like really high. Right now the R&B lever is really high. And, you know, so
yeah,
it's a balance.
Managing those influences too, I think, can be overwhelming at times, because you're like, oh, this is too much like so and so. I need to pull it back and think back to what you really want it to sound like. So
yeah, I mean,
good.
You know, you're totally right. And overall, I mean, it can be overwhelming, but I think it's also like such a fun challenge to say, like, I have all of these things that I love. What are the things that matter for this? And again, Jessica says, if you don't have an understanding of yourself, and if you're not like really attuned to what you love and what you want to do, it's not going to resonate with other people. So that's why anytime I do something, you know, you're not going to find me writing a jazz tune, not because I hate jazz, but because it's like not something that I have a lot of personal experience with. And so it doesn't really resonate with me in the same way that it does for somebody else. So I always do things that I love first. And then that way I know it'll resonate with somebody.
I totally feel you. I feel like no one wants to hear me sing R&B, you know what I mean? So I'm just gonna not do that.
I mean, I want to hear that.
I would hear it.
It just sounds like Alanis Morissette like went to karaoke night and decided to do a jazz stand, you know?
That's
Honestly,
kind of iconic though, Jessica.
There's something there that has legs.
What I'm hearing from the both of you, which is really interesting, is like, you don't have to be one thing. And I love that. And I'm wondering, Sienna, like if you've ever felt the pressure to be one thing in crafting your sound and being so open about being like a woman loving woman, like, yeah.
Oh yeah, I feel that pressure. I think I've felt that pressure since birth to be one thing. People always, I mean, I want people to be things that they're not necessarily, you know, maybe born to be. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of pressure in the music industry, especially for, I guess, commercial pop music, for people to be a certain way. And I think most of that comes from sort of formulaic proofs that have maybe been proven time and time again, that if you are X plus Y, then we can do Z and, you know, make this happen with you. And I think that something that's really cool that both Shams and Jessica touched on is just the idea of borrowing from our influences, which is all innovation ever is. Like, there was a wheel, and then there was a bike, and then there was a car. And it all came from an idea before us. I mean, like, a very great example of that in music is like Lil Nas X, who was able to fuse country music with trap music and created this entire new genre that didn't really have popularity until somebody, you know, saw what was possible with it. And so when it comes to the pressure of, you know, being what somebody wants you to be, I think Sham said it best: just be authentic to yourself. The people who get it will get it, and continue to serve them, continue to make stuff for them. Eventually people will catch on, and it might be late. It might not be within the timing that you want it to be, but don't worry about that. Just do you, be you, keep giving the people who really like the shit that you do more stuff. Sorry, I said shit, but.
I mean, look at Lizzo, Sienna. Like, I mean, Lizzo had like such a small career when she first started like really making music, and that was like what, almost a decade before people like thought that
I saw
Lizzo was.
Lizzo play a college show in East Lansing when I was underage. There was maybe 100 of us in the room, maybe, and they were giving tickets away. Like, I was in high school and
Wow.
was given a ticket to go to it.
They paid you to watch Lizzo.
And what's even crazier is that SZA opened for Lizzo that same night. Yeah, I didn't even know who SZA was. And she was playing songs that I heard released like years later. And so, like you said, you see people that, like, it takes a while, and the 100 people in that room were, I'm sure they're all super fans. People who paid to see her that night probably would pay to drink her bathwater now. And so you just have to, I think, like, you know, stay focused on like why you're doing it. I think that if you're in this business to, you know, skip over all of the steps to get somewhere, then you will end up losing sight of the real reason you should be doing it, which is to bring people together
Definitely.
and serve a community.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I think we're on the topic of influences. John, you have a music theater background, so you've played many roles and many parts and haven't had to take on many personalities. How have you brought your, I guess, background and education in musical theater to what you're doing now in your career?
I think to have like musical theater history is pop music history. The origins of musicals in the 1930s and 40s were the pop songs that charted. That was a vessel to sell a record. It was a vessel to sell sheet music. The pop stars were the Broadway stars. Of course, that changed with the innovation of film and rock and roll, when Broadway decided we don't want to do rock and roll, we're going to stay pure. But the actual roots of pop music are musical theater, like with Cole Porter and George Gershwin and the American standards. So I feel very blessed from my theater education to have been given a pop music education. And it's been confusing to start in a career that requires you to change your voice from role to role, right? If you're acting, and then go into finding your own voice for recording. But I'm lucky because it's taught me to be able to make so many different sounds. Like Lady Gaga can do a song where she sings like this, and then she goes, you know, and she can sell them all. And I think that there's something to be said for an artist who can sound however they want to sound, as opposed to something that's a little more one-sided. I don't, is that the word?
Cutter, maybe? Yeah.
Well, like if you can only do one thing, if you're a one-trick pony, that's either going to work or it's not. But if you got a whole bag of tricks that you're like, oh, you didn't like that, well, now I'm going to give you opera. I think that there's something to be said for that.
And that,
but your tastes are formed. Oh, go ahead.
I was just saying that's very queer, like to be like, I'm not going to be one thing, and I'm open to changing. And why not extend that philosophy we have around like gender and sexuality to our music? Like, I'm not going to put myself in a box. I really love that you don't, John. And I also obviously love that you infuse activism into your music by donating a portion of your proceeds to an organization like ours. And that's like a really beautiful way to queerify your music too.
Well,
And
thank
thank
you.
you for that.
And of nothing, right? Because it's not, I'm giving away something that's coming to me, not something that I already have. So I've never, you know what I mean? Like, it's not even going to get to me, which is fine. Like, it's so, because someone said you're giving away your resources. I said, no, they're not my resources. They're not mine yet. So it's a different way to think about it.
That's really
If
interesting.
I'm so lucky to profit off of this record, you know, then somebody else can profit too.
Yeah.
It's actually such a good point, John. I think that like there's this like whole ecosystem of like people working to become the artists that they want to be. But then there's also like the outreach part of it too, where people younger than us who are working to become the artists that they need mentors and need people and need resources the same way that we needed people and friends and mentors and resources, and in many cases didn't get, in some cases got. And so why are we here? And why is the Future Perfect Project doing anything that they're doing if not to help foster a new generation of queer artists specifically who can have the resources that maybe you and I didn't have, right? And so that is like a major tenet of like the way that I like to, I mean, pursue music or entertainment. You know, something that I always think about is like, how do we get real, authentic representation in our projects, as opposed to like the more corporate-y, like, okay, we need to have like this person and this makeup and this, you know, whatever. Like, how do you really change the way things are happening? And I mean, it's a little bit of a tangent, but I do believe that tastes and society is, the tastes of society are first formed by the music, television industries, not Washington, right? Not the policies that our government creates or the politicians or any of that. I mean, all of that is so secondary to what is happening in music and television and film. And if we, all of us sitting here, can have some small part in just shifting the way that that is, I mean, it can create like so many opportunities for generations, you know, 1, 2, and 3 after us. And I think that's the really important thing. So John, even in your small way of like, you know, giving some of the profit of a song or an EP that you've released, it may not seem like a magnanimous thing to you, but actually does create such a ripple, right? And if I think that many of the reasons why we're all here are because we care about that ripple effect, right? The ripple effect that we're going to create with like a single action, and then a single action repeated over and over again by multiple people who are like-minded. I mean, that's the important thing, and that's the beauty of this whole thing. So we got to continue doing that.
So true. And I bet, you know, it took a while for you to get there and get to that mentality, because like at the beginning of your career, it can feel a lot different. It doesn't feel as expansive and open. And I'd love to ask you, Sienna, this is a question from one of our attendees. What were some struggles of starting your career in general, but also did being queer, you know, cause any roadblocks?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, I honestly didn't have a career until this last year. I was just making songs and releasing them. I think that I don't know that I even believed that it was a career until it started to be my job. And so like starting there, but backing up in sort of the full scope of like what was hard for me starting off as to be an artist. Obviously representation, which I think is sort of what was just touched on a bit. I decided I was going to be an artist because there was a girl, I had a song about her and for her, and I was writing for other people, and the people that were singing the songs that I was writing about her didn't hit the way that I wanted them to, because they were lesbian songs and straight girls were singing them. And they weren't doing it, right? And so I think that was one of the toughest things, was there was no blueprint really for me. Obviously, there were other artists who were queer, who were gay, who were Black, all of those things. But there wasn't one who was doing exactly what I needed them to be doing. And so that's kind of like where I started. And I think that having like that example maybe would have made me a lot less anxious and like afraid to do what I was doing. It maybe would have made me feel like I could model myself after someone, because I at the time was like, okay, I kind of want to be a little like Bieber, but like a little like Beyonce and like a little like, you know what I mean? And it was like, I don't know who I am, but I just want to make pop music. And eventually I had to get to a place where I was okay with being just me, and being just, you know, I guess one of one, if you can call me that. I don't even know if that's appropriate to say as myself, but I had to get to a point where I was okay with that. And then, of course, struggles and struggles come after that. There still aren't that many people that look like me who do what I do. But that's okay. I think that having examples though, and having people to look to, and honestly having community, is something that has made those struggles a lot better. I think that's something that Future Perfect, like kudos to you all for doing that. One of the coolest things I ever went to when I was like in middle school, my dad took me to this seminar that Matthew Knowles was like the keynote speaker. And I was like, Dad, I'm going to meet Beyonce. It's going to be the best day of my life. Like, we have to go front row. But we get there and he's talking to this room full of musicians. And at the beginning of his speech, he laughs and is like, I got paid so much money to do this. It's ridiculous. And in very like Matthew Knowles fashion, like he's a dick. And he's like, I got paid so much money to do this. And the best advice I'm going to give you that you're going to walk away with is to look to your left and look to your right and realize that everything that you need is in this room. You didn't need me to stand up here and, you know, give you any advice on how I broke my kids as artists, because the way that we did it was by building community. I got one person to believe in me, and then another person to believe in me, and so on and so forth. And one of them was great at photography, another was great at videography, another was great at production, and the list goes on, right? And I think that that's how those roadblocks are broken down. Like, you got to accept that this industry is made for cookie cutter, straight white girls with blonde hair who have voices that like are really high pitched and airy. And it maybe not you. That's not maybe not what box you fit into. And that has to be okay. Because again, I will go back to this, the community and audience that you are serving wants what you have. So just keep giving it to them. Eventually, the powers that be, the people that have the key to the door that you are trying to get through will be like, oh my gosh, there's so much noise over there. What is the reason? And you will have more power at that point, because you'll be able to say, I already built this community. I already built this audience. They give a fuck about what I have to do. I keep swearing, I'm sorry, it's late. Like, if they care about what you're doing, eventually somebody, you know, I guess higher up or with more resources will eventually care, because they can't make the songs you're making. Like, all they have is money, which is not everything.
Sienna, thank you so much for all of that. It just spoke to me in this moment. So I appreciate hearing that. Thank you.
Of course. It's hard. It gets hard. It gets really tough because you see people who are winning, and, you know, maybe people who have what you want. But there's so much fulfillment in knowing that the person who is sharing your music every day, you know, for you, the people who are commenting on your work, like, think about yourself 5 years ago. Like, I bet you like prayed for fans. I bet you like wished you could sell 50 tickets or 100 tickets or whatever. And there is a lot of power in that, like getting back to that and having that be your reason. It will continue to grow.
but it's what you said about resources and how this is the closer you get to the sun, a resource game. Who has the most funding for marketing, for this, for videos, for outfits, for fashion, for songs, for production, for engineering, for
Yeah.
And what you said that Matthew Nolan said about it's all right in the room is so great, because your job and anyone who's listening's job is to be great at what you do. And then you can acquire the fans who will help you out. If that's the photographer that you're talking about, if that's the vocal producer who's going to say, I really like you, I'm going to give you a shot.
Totally.
So your main job is to be great.
All I have to do as an artist, all I have to do is write cool songs and, take care of my skin. Aside from that, like, I'm not really required to do much else. And be kind to people, because it turns out, like, in the same way that I'm sure you're willing to, like, open your heart and your schedule to people, maybe not for as much bread as your time might be worth. Like, people are willing to do that for you as well. Like, I know you have friends who want to get into videography. And like I said, innovation, all it is stealing someone else's idea and making it a little better. And so if you can find people who are committed to doing that with you, like, you're in a good spot.
Yeah, I think if you build it, people will come. It just, I started in the music industry at 16 years old professionally, and I feel like I'm old as hell now, but I'm not. I've just been doing this a really long time, so I'm jaded as fuck. See, I can curse for you too. But I feel like if you stay in it long enough, you will have a place, because that's just people get used to you and then they start calling you for things. But the biggest lesson, and I think this is important for however you identify, is, eyes on your own paper, do the work and stay out of the results. I say that to myself every day, because social media can be a very toxic environment, and you might see someone and their success and you're like, well, why am I not there? But that's their own journey, and you're building something that's very unique to you. And so you cannot compare where you are in your journey. And since I started to do that, I feel like I've been much happier in the success that I do acquire.
I 100% agree with you, Jessica, on, like, sometimes there's a lot of value in just keeping your head down and honing your craft quietly, right? And then sometimes there's a lot of value in saying, look at what I did. But everyone is different and everyone gets energy from different places. So it's important to know when it's time for you to put your head down and do the work and grind, because there's a lot of that. And there's also a time to have others celebrate you and seek external validation. But if you can have validation from within yourself, that is going to be the thing that keeps you going. I know, like, Sienna, since you're an artist, you were talking about how you as an artist need to find other people, right, to help with various aspects of your journey as an artist. For some of you who maybe are not going the artist route, like myself, be the technical skill that somebody like Sienna needs. Be a really amazing arranger or audio engineer, or learn how to master and mix, or cinematography, or whatever it is. Learn how to do something that makes you indispensable to someone like Sienna or like John, or, so there's lots to be done, even if you don't want to be an artist or a recording artist in the same way.
What was that, Jessica, you said stay in the work and not in the results? Is that it?
Do the work and stay out of the results.
Do the work and stay out of the results. I love that. I would tattoo that on my forehead. So good.
Same.
All the time. I think I've said it to Elizabeth too.
Yeah, for sure. I live by it too. Anybody close to Jess at this point.
So good. It's because it's pointless. It's pointless to be obsessed with results.
Yeah.
Like, I guess if you want to be anxious all the time. But I don't know anybody that wants to do that. Just get better. Just do the work. Get better. Just make sure the last thing you made.
Too, that is a result. Like, your hard work is a result. Like,
Exactly.
just like you said, you might have 50 more fans, and that's organic. And so I feel like a lot of musicians and creatives, we get really obsessed with numbers because if Spotify decided to do everyone a disservice by having this popularity contest, that it's almost it's so hard to break through without like an editorial playlist or a hit on the radio. So artists start to feel really bad about themselves if they only have like a few thousand streams. But instead of thinking about it, oh my gosh, I have a few thousand streams and those are organic.
Those
Those
are
are
real
real
people.
fans. Yeah, exactly. That's a big deal. That's something
Yeah,
to.
you're so lucky at the beginning because I mean, I know people, I have friends who skipped those steps, like I said, in the middle and don't know how to connect with their real fans or don't know who their real fans are. And like, I can't remember who said it before, but like, that's their journey, they have to figure out how to, maneuver within their trajectory. But if you are fortunate enough and if you are able to see the fortune in having like growth over time and starting with a few thousand streams, that is a lot easier to talk to 1,000 people than it is 100,000 people, than it is 1,000,000 people all at once. Like, you're super lucky. Like, you can do the greatest bit of like most detailed research on who those people are. Like, you have the opportunity to talk to individuals and figure out what about what I'm doing do you even like? And for me, it was a banana suit. And so, I mean, I didn't know that until I tried, but I was like, oh, okay. So all I had to do was like put on a freaking weird costume and like you guys would like it more or engage more. But like doing that sort of stuff and then being able to go back and talk to people and actually, see what they repost and those things, like you are lucky. You should see that as, you should see that as a positive thing, not as a negative.
So true.
That's so true. And Ashley, one of our attendees asked, "Are there any tips for getting your name out there?" I mean, I want to just say being here is like a great first step. A lot of people don't even show up to events like this, and like everybody here is saying, like it can seem like a popularity contest, but these editorial playlists can be like kind of like the Photoshop of a music career. Like if you take that away and you strip it down to, the organic fans, that's really valuable. I wonder, Shams, you like created these two super groups that are gaining so much popularity. How do you get their names out of there? Out of the brainstorm stage and into real life?
Yeah, I mean, it's all about it's such a crazy world. Like it's all about being true to what you want that project to be, right? So it's equal parts having like a really, really serious understanding of like, this is what I want to put out in the world. Jessica said it really well. She said, if you build it, they will come. So first you got to build it. Then you got to figure out who are they? Who am I marketing this to? And I'll figure out how to get those people involved, right? So we know from experience that Pentatonics, for example, does really well with like the middle America kind of large swath of land between New York and LA of people in their, like middle-aged moms and their kids. And instead of saying, oh man, is that the demographic we want to be like making our music for? We say, okay, there's an opportunity there, right? There's an opportunity there. These are the kinds of things they like. And let's glean from those things. Let's figure out what we can learn from those things so we can apply them to new projects. So yeah, we're doing a kids a cappella music brand. We're going to be hitting like a similar demographic. Right. And so let's do a lot of the things and learn from all of that. So that's why we put that name out there, right? We're not going to be doing high fashion, brand deals with Givenchy for something that needs to hit, a more kind of like mainstream middle America type audience. Then on the other hand,
Walmart's got a lot more money than Givenchy.
That's what I'm saying. Those pocketbooks are full. Kansas has full pocketbooks. And so
also like until it gets cool, that's the thing, is that there weren't any gay people in Calvin Klein ads, like, or lesbians in Calvin Klein ads, or like Lil Nas X is doing Vogue or whatever. Like that wasn't until it was sweet. and then he's a trailblazer. You know what I mean? So like, it doesn't
There will
literally.
always be the person who walks so that X, Y, and Z can run.
That's right.
Right? And so sometimes you're walking. And that's also okay because there can be a lot of success in walking. I wanted to, just because I'm talking right now, I just wanted to go back to what Jessica was saying. I think somebody was talking about social media and like its impact on our like collective psyche and how we're so metrics driven because of things like Spotify and social media and likes and followers and stuff like that. But like, think about somebody said like, congratulations on 1,000 streams on Spotify, right? You may look at that and be like, why do I only have 1,000 streams? But then it's like, if you got 1,000 people in a room, that's a lot of people. And those are all people who are like, fuck yeah, we like your thing. You're awesome. And like Sienna said, you can literally go to each one of those 1,000 people and ask them, what about your thing you like? I mean, I think that is the biggest, best piece of advice out of this whole thing so far, is just like, don't worry about the fact that you haven't hit 1 million streams. Seems like everybody on TikTok has 1 million followers right now, but I don't think, I look at people who have 1 million followers on TikTok and then they go live and there are like 6 to 7 people on their live. So it really says something about engagement, right? Where people really are going to show up for you. So if you have 1,000 streams organically, those are 1,000 people who are going to show up for you as an artist in ways that are way, 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 way bigger, right? Than 100,000 or 1 million people who just looked at your thing for 2 seconds or didn't even look at it and couldn't tell you apart from 15 other acts that are like you. It's all about the organic growth and just like the true fandom and tapping into that and figuring out how to grow that, as opposed to the editorial playlist. I mean, the more you kind of go into the music industry, you'll know that a lot of that is politics. A lot of that is like, somebody knows somebody owes this person a favor, and so I'm going to put your artist on a playlist. I walked into a meeting with a person, and I will not say that person's name, but it's the head of one of these like big music labels. And the end of this conversation, he's on the phone, he's like, if she had any clue what we had to do to get her that Grammy nomination, then she would not be complaining right now. And we were like, oh my God, but it really does paint a picture, right? It shows you that Grammy nominations, like all this stuff, it's all tied up in this politics of these, executives and people who, the CEOs of, these big labels and stuff like that. And until we can really infiltrate and bring representation of our collective communities, right, into that, then it's like, it's always going to be like that until we really come forward in a big way as a big army and say, we are here, we are creating, we are consuming. And just like, Kansas with their big pocketbooks, like we also have a lot of stuff that we can bring to the table. And then we will become those executives who will make those decisions. And hopefully we will have a better conscience because we know what it was like to be not it,
I think that's so important what you just said, and I pretty much is why I'm a music executive. So I was a creative my entire life. I still am, and everyone, just thought that that's what I was going to do. But I was just really frustrated with how my peers were being treated, and I was frustrated with how I was being treated as a recording artist. And I felt like the only way that you can change the industry is if you become a part of it. And there wasn't enough, I didn't see enough people that identified like me, that acted like me, that was bold like me, that wanted to push things forward in positions of power. It was just like another like white dude that's gonna be like Me Too'd in like a hot second and get fired up at a different company. So I thought, even though progress is made really slowly, I was gonna have to try. And I was like, if some guy in a pop punk band I did the Warped Tour with can get a job as an executive A&R and I have more experience in music, why can't I have an executive position? So I'm coming for them. So
I'm with you, Jess.
On the individual level as an artist and like your personal success, like of course, like having fans is great, having 1,000 streams is great, but when you've developed your own taste in music, which we started this conversation with, when you develop your own taste and your own knowledge, when you are satisfied with your own piece of music, nothing else matters. And the only way you'll ever be fully satisfied with your own piece of music is to really know what you like and what you want to hear. So I'm kind of pivoting a little bit, but I feel that it's your job as a young artist to be yourself and create what you see missing from the world, like that you want to hear. And what Jessica's saying about you want to see the industry like this, you've got to go be the industry like this. You're creating the thing that you want to see, create the change you want to see, right?
Definitely. Yeah. And
Gandhi.
I think that, I mean, we only have a couple minutes left because I think we're going to try to wrap it up before the hour at 5. But I want to spend the next, last bit of the time here to discuss the future of the music industry, which, John, you're hinting at, like what's not here. What can we do to create space for people of all representations and backgrounds? And, I'm just curious to kind of get everyone's thoughts on where you feel like the music industry is going, and if hopefully a positive direction.
And to tie it back to queerness, if you can, think of your perfect future as a musician and your perfect future as someone who's queer, just to future perfect project it up,
I just want the industry to be gayer. I really do. I think I want it to be more diverse and equitable and safe. I think our industry is not well unionized and therefore creates a very secretive culture where people can be exploited very easily. And the more marginalized you are, the more susceptible you are to that. So I'm just encouraging everyone and myself to have more uncomfortable conversations and get louder so that we can stop normalizing the things that are happening behind the scenes. That is what I'm trying to do to dismantle. I have uncomfortable conversations with my bosses on a daily basis, much to them not wanting me to. But, I think we just all have to just keep talking. And I hope that we build a better business. But either way, the dinosaurs are going away. So they're going to die soon.
It's true.
Make way. I totally agree with Jessica. I mean, the industry has to be a lot gayer. The industry has to be a lot more willing to not tokenize 2 Black girls being in a group and saying like, oh, that's weird. We only needed 1, right? We don't want to, I don't want to watch television and see the only chubby Indian gay kid being like the butt of everybody's joke, right? I don't see myself that way, and I don't want that to be the representation. And so until we really continue stepping it up in the ways that we already have, and we'll continue to do, and we'll continue to foster for the younger generation, we gotta get up to these upper echelons of the decision makers, right? We need to be represented there, and therefore we can create a world where it's going to be very normal to see chubby singers killing it and not being the novelty, not being the novelty of what they are, right? Adele can just exist and can be fat or skinny or whatever and not have that be like the headline, right? We can just focus on her music. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for, more authentic, real representation for our communities, and just a better ecosystem that's not as tied up in politics, right? Because we're so influential, this whole thing, we are so influential. So let's use that for some good.
Amazing. John or Sienna, you have any last thoughts here?
Music education is number 1. You understanding music theory, understanding composition, utilizing real musicians, having people play instruments. This is what I would like to hear. The computers have gone a little too far. It's a bit bleak with how much a computer can do. And what I'm hearing is a lot of ringtones. I'm just hearing a lot of ringtones coming out, and they're really catchy, and I get it. And you can repeat a word 6 times and everyone will know your song, but it's driving me nuts. And so my prayer for music is just the return of music. So I have such a passion and love of music. And I just want music.
Yeah, no, and I feel like that too comes from your background in just live performance. Like you've always been a performer, and so that's something you really cherish and integrate into your career, which is special, and it's why I think music is so memorable and really stands out. I mean, high heels is like amazing, and I assume those instruments are a big part live as well.
It's all live, yeah.
Yeah, and you hear it.
And you get to, and then these people, right? This guy who's playing 20 horns on it, it's like, thank God you made a song where I actually get to play horns. So he's getting hired all the time to play on a track, but he's like, no, you actually let me play a section. So what you might not, you know what I mean? By creating what I wanted to hear, I gave somebody else an opportunity to do what they love to do. And it's a domino effect.
Definitely. Love hearing that. Well, if that's, we're gonna wrap it up.
Oh, I want to hear what Sienna has to say too.
I do too. It's like, Sienna.
It's always the worst thing, but my position on the music industry is blow it up from the inside. It's broken. So stop aspiring to fit in within it. Like if you're queer, like you're different. Sorry to break that to you, but it's not designed for you. So stop aspiring to get in to the mix and for it to work out like as an equation for you, because it wasn't built for you. So
Not built for most people. It's built for
not built for most people. Yeah, and it hasn't really changed. Like, I mean, they make biopics about this shit all the time, where like you see an artist and they're struggling to fit in and figure out how it's going to work for them, and it doesn't work. And then at the end, they realize that if they just stay true to themselves, like everything will be okay in the end, and roll credits. And so just skip to the end of those movies, stay true to yourself.
A director.
Make music
Literally.
for people that love you, make music for the people that want to hear what you have to do. If you're an artist, if you are somebody that wants to work on the executive side or management side or supporting an artist, skip to the end of the movie, realize that there's way more power in community than there is in a machine, because machines don't have brains or hearts. So yeah, fuck all of that. Blow it up. I hope somebody gets in the middle of it and just blow it.
You will, and you are. And that's why I'm just so grateful we could do this today. I feel really inspired. And if you're feeling inspired, there are lots of things you can do. If you're watching this and you're a label, please check out Vydia. Great distribution platform. Get your videos out there, get your music out there, and get the coin that you deserve. Don't let anybody put up your music and try to get money off of that. That's your money. And also, if you're a queer person and you need community so you can start making the music and the projects and the art that you want and you see, come on down to the Future Perfect Project. Maybe Ryan, the unseen wizard, will add some links, but we have a website, we have an Instagram where we do conversations kind of like this every Monday, talking to queer icons. We've had Sienna on the show, actually. John, you're next. Jessica, Shams, you're next. And we are in the middle of making a 10-track album, all produced by queer producers and written by queer youth. And that's really special. And I want everyone here to know that you are an artist for showing up. You're not aspiring anything. You are an artist. And just thank you for showing up, and thank you for taking a step in your artistry. We really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you all for joining. Definitely feel free to follow the panelists on socials. We really appreciate y'all's time today and hope you have a great rest of your night.
Thank you so much, y'all. Thank you, Sienna, Jessica, John, Shams, icons.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me again.
Thank you so much.
Always.
Elizabeth,
Pride Month.
John and Jessica.
Happy Pride.
Pride Month year round.
Pride.
All year, baby.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.